These creatures are nothing but pure, motorized instinct. We must not be lulled by the concept that these are our family members or our friends. They are not. They will not respond to such emotions. They must be destroyed on sight.
Bodies are zombie in love with a survivor. Eat. No eat. Eat. No eat.
Living. Eat. Eat.
So Warm Bodies came out 2013 and is reimagining the romantic zombie comedy.
Yeah.
Technically it's been done several times now. Shaun of the Dead kind of revitalized it, but even then this kind of subgenre of the romantic zombie comedy existed before then with, again, Return of the Living Dead Part 3, and maybe going back even further to the likes of Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
So Warm Bodies does kind of borrow quite heavily from multiple genres, and I think the film is also a byproduct of the success of perhaps the Twilight saga, especially now with teenage girls. That kind of market has opened up to filmmakers to make these glamorous horror movies that deal with kind of teenage angst and love and confusion.
Well, yeah, but that's a good thing, really, because obviously we're not teenagers anymore, so you're bringing in a new audience into the whole zombie genre. And they do kind of keep the idea of, the zombie apocalypse has happened, the survivors have kind of been forced into this fortress city, and the zombies are wandering around aimlessly. Shamblers, I would like to point out, which I really, really enjoy, that they do run every now and again, but they are primarily just your slow, stumbling zombies. You're immediately given Nicholas Hoult's character, who is a unique zombie. He can open up doors, he collects things, he listens to music. He's smarter than your average zombie. But I do take from the film that he has built this up over the 8 years of the apocalypse happening by eating the brains of the victims that he's come across. So he does pick up the memories of the people that he has killed, and he starts to pick up unique traits from these people.
He gives a commentary over the early part of the movie. He establishes who he is, or the fact that he's not aware anymore of who he is. He
Yeah.
says that just by the looks of his own appearance that he would guess that he was unemployed. And there's a fantastic moment where he is actually eating somebody, and he asks you not to watch because he is a little bit ashamed of the fact that he has to eat people.
Now, I'm not proud of this. In fact, I'd appreciate it if you might look away for a moment here. I don't like hurting people, but this is the world now.
But that still doesn't stop him from scooping up their brains and putting them in his pocket for later.
Which is very intelligent for a zombie. You know, we're talking about a zombie who actually saves his meal so that he can actually eat it in peace and quiet, away from the other shambling hordes that are wandering around looking for their next meal.
We say that he is unique in a sense that he has more of a personality than the zombies around him, but he does even say that he has a zombie friend.
Yeah.
And we kind of see their humorous dialogue between each other whilst they're kind of just hanging out, waiting until they decide they want to go for their next meal.
But sometimes we even find actual words. Words like and
City.
The tropes are there, but they're kind of grounded and lifted from the George A. Romero zombies, especially as we see in Dawn of the Dead, where we see that the zombies have retained some kind of spark of memory, which draws them to places that they used to go to when they were alive.
Yeah.
So it is kind of an extension of that. It's a kind of foundation that's there. It's like that is what you would perhaps consider your zombie lore, and they do play with that very well. I mean, the whole setup, I mean, if you're going to take zombies for what they are, this film is almost like a fairy tale adaptation of a zombie universe, where they are dead, but they're not quite, because a lot of them have that sort of base humanity in there that just needed a spark to bring it back, which the film it does confuse its own setup of their own lore. They do kind of muddle it a little bit, because for instance you do see the boyfriend, the girl's boyfriend, who sees his dad, and the dad straight away makes a run to try and kill him, whereas other zombies that would perhaps see their relatives would have that spark of memory as to who they are.
Well, but I mean, his dad was a fresh zombie. The zombies that we are following with R and M and all of them, they've been wandering around for quite a few years. And it's like you said, with the spark of humanity, it's always an idea that zombie movies has always played, that they might retain memories of who they are, and you're usually told in things like The Walking Dead and the Night of the Living Dead trilogies that you're supposed to forget all that. Forget all that. They're not human anymore. They're corpses. This one, they still have that hint, and like you said, that spark is brought back into them. Their hearts start beating, and they start to think a bit more. They're able to drive, which is quite shocking. Zombies getting behind wheels of cars, using weapons. Like I said, in somewhat like Land of the Dead, they start using weapons, so they start just triggering these little, electrolytes in their brains for what you can say about zombies' brains.
Well, the huge transformation that happens to these zombies in this film is through love. It's through having sort of a human connectivity. It's about having a partner, whether it's a best friend or a love interest. It's the image that for most of the zombies of just a couple holding hands, and straight away it starts to spark off their own memories that they had when they were alive.
Holding hands with their own loved ones, and they start to realize that they're not just wanting food anymore. As Nicholas R's own monologue actually says that he only eats to feel alive, and he eats these memories to feel what humans are starting to feel, but that humans are technically neglecting to remember, because they're kind of dulling themselves because of all the devastation going on in the world.
the brain's the best part. The part that makes me feel human again. I don't want to hurt you. I just want to feel what you felt.
The thing I do like about this film, which a lot of zombie fans might be a bit put off, is that it's not as depressing and foreboding as a lot of the Armageddon sequences that we've been kind of fed over the years. You know, when somebody talks about a zombie apocalypse, we see the destruction of the cities, we see the falling of families and governments and just everything falling around. And most of the time, 95% of the time, it usually ends up with you sat in a dark room surrounded by a horde of zombies with a gun in your mouth ready to blow your own brains out. That, for me, not exactly a good feeling when it comes to a zombie apocalypse, which is why I kind of, in a weird way, warm to Warm Bodies, because they actually expand on the thought of maybe love is the cure. You know, maybe in a weird way, we're not looking for a vial of a vaccine in a lab somewhere, and we're not looking to eradicate the whole thing. Maybe it's just the corpses are the next stage in evolution for us, and then thus again becoming another stage of evolution further on once the virus has set into them and then has started to die after a while.
Which is what I quite like about the zombies in this film, is that the zombies because it's almost like the zombies themselves get so depressed with their own existence that they start to peel their own faces off, their own skin off, and become what they call the bonies. And they are like the zombies that have completely shed any resemblance of humanity, and they are just that skeletal kind of presence, and then they run and they growl, and they're almost demonic. And so you kind of see like the two different ways that the zombies could evolve within the universe of this film. And they are quite menacing. They kind of remind me of the vampire things from I Am Legend. Yeah. They kind of had that kind of presence. And when they did turn up in the movie, they did actually add some very tense moments, because you did actually fear for the zombies, because you could see these bone monsters were actually, sniffing out the zombies and figuring out that they were getting some humanity back. So you could kind of see like a zombie war kind of evolving and brewing throughout the movie. Which is another unique twist. You know, having zombie factions within zombie factions. You know, we've already had it, obviously, with Left 4 Dead, with the spitters and the smokers and the bloaters, but they kind of just fall into the crowd with all the other zombies. You don't actually see them coming until they're right on top of you. These ones you can actually tell. You know, the zombies themselves, the corpses, are silent and shambling, and they're quite smart. I mean, the first female zombie in the first attack, she kicks a survivor just to knock him off balance before she jumps on him. Where the bonies, they scream in the background, and then you see their presence in a doorway, and they come running towards you. I did kind of see the special effects a little bit not top rating, but at the same time, you know, they were definitely fucking better than World War Z. But I'm not going to get into that right now. I love just the whole fact of, you know, he once he meets Julie and he has these feelings towards her. I mean, he has feelings towards her before he even starts to take in the memories from her boyfriend. And there's that cool little sequence where he kind of hears the song Missing You from the 80s when he's watching her, and there's kind of like a weird sexy pose with her with a shotgun blasting zombies left and right, and he's completely stuck in awe. And then obviously when all the rest of the corpses have killed all the survivors and they're looking for the next meal, he makes it he takes on an actual thought to protect her by obviously coating her face with blood and then taking her back to his place, which in itself is another weird sequence. Sitting there putting sunglasses on and, you know, playing board games, and It's one of the first montages in the movie, and it is a little bit hard to watch because it is very cheesy. but you can get past it because by this point in the film you've kind of already invested in the characters. They are very likeable despite being very shallow in terms of characters and what we actually know about them.
Yeah.
But because of the situation and because you're actually invested into the film, you kind of take it for what it is. And it is, showing the passing of time, and it's showing that they're building a relationship despite the fact that he can't communicate with her that well. But he has saved her life. And it is actually quite funny. I think the two leads in this film are very convincing. They do look exactly almost like the lead couple from the Twilight movies. Yeah. So, I actually almost thought that it was Kristen Stewart originally. They do have one very big name actor in the movie, and that's John Malkovich, and he does actually only have a small part in the film. Yeah. I think the company might have just put his name in there just to kind of add some credibility to it because he's quite a successful actor as well. Yeah. But he does come across as a bit of a flat, dull kind of antagonist in the movie, where if you take a TV series like The Walking Dead, where they explore that these leaders that are protecting these communities as the last bastions of humanity, you get to see their internal struggles, you get to see the horrible decisions that they have to make, whereas the character that John Malkovich plays in this film, you don't actually get to see any of that. You get one flashback where you get to see that he was, celebrating his dead wife's birthday, which kind of created some friction between him and his daughter. It kind of became a little bit too uncomfortable. And he kind of became devoid of all emotions. He became devoid of anything that you would class him as being alive. Yeah. Whereas you actually see the zombies acting to each other more humanely than you see him acting with his daughter. So it was a kind of interesting contrast there. So I don't know whether they actually intended for that to happen or whether they just didn't really explore his character that much, which for me was kind of annoying. And there's also other moments in the film where they do just kind of expect you to kind of fill in the gaps because there's a lot of things that happen that you just kind of have to go, that must have happened. Yeah.
Well, at the same time, I mean, being zombie fans as we are, I mean, a lot of the stuff, especially with John Malkovich's character, I kind of just made the assumption of what had made him like that and kind of guessed, knowing that, we're in the middle of a zombie apocalypse, he's had to kill some people that he really didn't want to, and he's seen a lot of people die. So he has become this machine. He just wants to keep the wall built. He wants to keep everybody locked inside because he knows that outside is a massive threat. But with the way this film develops, you realise that it's not becoming a threat anymore. The zombies are slightly becoming more alive, especially starting from R, who is himself the catalyst for the cure. It's his spark that kind of sparks all the other zombies, which is a new thing to see, especially from a general character who spent the last 8 years keeping everybody safe and telling everybody, shoot zombies in the head on sight, don't actually, don't look at them as family members. But then when he actually sees R and he starts to go, you're dead, but you're talking to me. You're not attacking me. And that made me think of Bub, obviously from Day of the Dead. Bub went through the same kind of thing. He didn't become alive, but it was an idea that they were able to take and expand on a little bit more in this film. If you are a zombie fan, you might look at this film and be like, oh God, it's a cheesy love story. It is a cheesy love story, but look at it from the angle that your partner, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, they might not love the whole apocalypse hanging over you, Armageddon filling your house with guns and shooting everybody that comes in the sight. They might actually really enjoy the love connection between a human character and an undead corpse.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest criticisms I have about the character of R is that we don't actually get much backstory about him other than the explanation he gives at the beginning. Yeah. And instead of exploring perhaps R's background or history, throughout the movie we'll kind of have flashbacks of the dead boyfriend who's no longer a character or a presence in the movie, yet he's constantly coming back up because R's reliving his memories. And so for me, it kind of jolted the pacing a little bit.
Yeah.
Where I was like, I would have rather explored the characters that are still living.
Yeah.
Or actually going to remain in the rest of the movie rather than exploring these dead characters.
Yeah, they the boyfriend, once he ate the brains, the boyfriend should have just fucking stayed dead. And it would have been nice to expand on who R was and where he came from. But then at the same time, for the basis of the film, it was nice to actually have like a fog on his background story. We just accept him as a zombie. He's fallen in love, and he's making it his job to protect Julie.
And the film does have some very typical tropes of romantic movies in general, romantic comedies. Of course, the boy meets girl, boy falls in love with girl, they get together, something horrible happens, they break up, they go their separate ways, something else happens, they have to come back together again. So it does follow all of those tropes, but there's the moments that they do so well in this film where we're told that obviously zombies don't sleep and they don't dream. Yet the more alive that they start to become, he starts to dream, and he has his first dream, and it's really nice. It kind of encapsulates everything that's happened in the first part of the movie into that moment. And then obviously when he wakes up and then she's gone, it does actually pull on your heartstrings just a little bit. So, and the film actually has some fantastic music in there, some very cheesy retro 80s montages, but it's part of the charm of this film, and I actually find it really hard to hate it. So I would actually put this film now in my favourite top 10 zombie movies.
Yeah, I myself would recommend this film. I especially recommend this film to people who aren't as experienced as a lot of fans are with zombie movies. If you, like I said, if you're afraid of seeing all the death and blood and guts, start with Warm Bodies. It will warm you up to zombie movies, and you'll realise that yes, a lot of the apocalyptic Armageddon stuff is really depressing, but it doesn't always have to be. And if you want to live in that world, then you go right ahead. I'll happily stand next to R and shamble with the hordes just for a laugh and.
So what's your favourite scene, Iain?
I see. Weirdly enough, I find it difficult to have a favourite scene. I did really enjoy the film, but there was nothing that really stood out and made me just laugh. There was the scene at the end where, spoilers, the corpse zombies and the bony zombies actually end up having a bit of a fight. And it is that sequence is quite funny because you see the survivor soldiers running in there ready to kill everything, and then they're not entirely sure who to shoot, and you have M stood there going, "Hey, shoot that guy." That sequence was really quite good. But from a zombie fan point of view, I kind of did get a bit teary-eyed when Julie left R, and R ended up wandering back to the airport, and as he's making his way back, he comes across M and a horde of zombies, and M says, "Oh, did she go home?" And R says, "Yeah," and they hug in the middle of the street. And I particularly like this scene because if I was a survivor and I was hidden out in the field with a sniper rifle eyeing up this horde of zombies, I'd be keeping myself quiet. And then seeing two zombies hug, I'd be like, what the fuck? What the fuck? So I enjoyed that scene.
I actually, one of the funniest parts in the film for me, I think, was an extension of that scene, and it's where M tells R that the bonies are coming for him and for her, and he's like, "I need help," and so he's like, I'll ask the other zombies.
Listen. Fuck yeah.
I really recommend Warm Bodies. I think it's a fantastic take and revitalizing the zombie genre for the mainstream. It's done very well. It's not so overhanded that you're going to hate on it. the first 15 minutes of the film really brings you into it, and so long as you stay engrossed in it and invested in it, there's a lot of payoffs towards the end of the film, which makes it very enjoyable and quite memorable. So I, if you haven't seen it yet, I do recommend that you check out Warm Bodies.
So yeah, like I said, I definitely recommend it. If you don't watch zombie movies, it's a nice little start place for you to start off in. If you've seen a lot of zombie movies and you're afraid of the whole Twilight cheesy love story thing, fuck it, just throw that shit out the window, sit down with a loved one, watch some people get their brains eaten, and just laugh at the zombies cuddling.
Thanks for watching Off the Shelf Reviews.